Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News brought to you from my dad's house. I'm down here in Nashville, Tennessee, giving him a little bit of a visit, so this one's going to look a bit different with an alternative mic, a whole new setup. I hope everything goes smoothly, but we're going to be kicking off this episode of Fantasy News with some exciting industry small step changes that I actually quite like before we get into some amazing cover reveals and book news before finally landing on some Lego releases that I find to be a little bit psychopathic. But before we get into any of that, I do want to say I'm also going to be ending this episode of Fantasy News with a prediction for the Wheel of Time show. I'm going to be putting it at the very end, so if you have not caught up on the show or not watching it, you don't got to be bothered by it, but I want to get it on the record, because if I'm right, it'll likely be set up in the next episode, and I want to get it out as quickly as possible. So, especially if you're just bothered by how much I've been talking about Wheel of Time, it's not going to be in your way. But let's go ahead and get into the cool stuff first, because we have had an article dropped from The Cut that has gotten into how Simon & Schuster is quote-unquote becoming the A24 of books. And as much as that headline kind of annoyed me, what this article by Kat Zhang is actually talking about is really interesting. And especially if you're interested in publishing, I recommend you go read the whole thing. But it comes down to the fact that Simon & Schuster, yes, seems to be the in front of the fleet publishing house imprint that is trying to make as many small changes as they can that could lead to real revolution within an industry that, as we've talked about many times here on the channel, consistently feels behind the curve.
What are you doing?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm moving hay bales from here over to here. Although that one's a straw bale.
As we covered in that story, a lot of the time it's put on the author or their agent to get those blurbs, which can benefit those who are connected in the industry while alienating those who are not. And in regards to that, Manning, the new head of Simon & Schuster, said, "What other industry does this? Would you ask another director, can you give me a quote that I could use on my poster, or another recording artist?" And there's been pushback on that. It's even covered in the article. People saying this is not enough, and I agree, but at least it's a step toward trying to correct how publishing as a whole, yes, has largely been a who-you-know industry for literally centuries, and 1,000 small cuts could lead to it being in general more democratized and fitting for the modern era. And in addition to that, they seem to be trying to roll into trends of modern marketing, and there's going to be failures here. Not everything Simon & Schuster tries is going to be a massive success, but I would rather see an imprint or a publisher taking risks right now, trying to differentiate themselves and catch up, than what the industry has been doing, which is kind of just sitting around while other big tech giants and players come in and take advantage of the fact that they seem to be so just out of it. All these new strategies even include like a show called Book Blitz that's going to have people running through stores on shopping sprees. That I personally don't think is going to be a total winner, but again, it's trying stuff, and it could absolutely be wrong. For me, Simon & Schuster has absolutely become one of the more interesting houses to watch, and I hope to see a continued commitment to this new strategy. If I could just end this with one final note, and I'm sure those already over at Simon & Schuster know this, but just because there are a couple failures in this process does not mean it should be cut. And short-term losses can lead to long-term successes. And I'll keep covering it as long as interesting stuff is being done. Though, if publishing news is not necessarily your interest, would it be an episode of Fantasy News in 2025 if we didn't have something to talk about AI related? No, it's not going to be that gross AI Hobbit trailer I saw released that, like, this is the same crowd largely that gets mad at adaptations who are like, oh, this character didn't look like how Tolkien wrote them, so he'd hate this. And then they turn around and do something like an AI generated trailer. Like, I've literally seen people commenting favorably towards this trailer who are mad about, you know what I mean? And it's, dude, if Tolkien saw an AI-made trailer for The Lord of the Rings, he's not a violent man. I don't mean to insinuate he is, but he might go full Unabomber.
I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
Like, that is so egregiously against every artistic belief the man preached his entire life. My God. The guy who wrote the fantasy epic that is largely anti-industrialization would lose his shit if he saw AI schlop spitting this out. But somewhat related to that, because it was in a Ghibli style, fake news began spreading like crazy on Twitter. Can you believe it? When a member of the Ghib Studio team, a studio that specializes in just ripping off Ghibli style and spewing out AI slop, faked getting a cease and desist from Studio Ghibli, saying, "Just got this cease and desist from Studio Ghibli. AI creators deserve protection, not punishment. Expression is sacred. Imagination is not illegal. Oh my God, you have no imagination. If I have to be a martyr to prove it, so be it. I'm assembling a legal team. Firms who believe in this fight, reach out." To which, in a rare display of actually making a statement on something like this, Ghibli actually came out and said, yeah, that's not real. And anyone who was paying attention could clearly see that as well, because
how embarrassing.
There is no records of a Sakura Hishino LLP, the email address is not valid, and the phone number is 555. And there's two options here. Either this member of Ghib Studio is so dumb they didn't check any of that before going on Twitter to make a giant legal kerfuffle, or two, they faked it for clout and clicks, which they got. And I don't know which is sadder. And I just want to say here with my chest, if you're one of these people who's using AI to like specifically rip off someone else's style directly, especially, you have no imagination. There is nothing creative about going, what if Hobbit but Ghibli style? Ha! That's not creation even, in my opinion. That's a prompt. And I'm sure they'll come back and say, yeah, but I put effort in putting these clips together in a way with music that you didn't create the music. Maybe it's AI made too, I don't know. But a teenager with iMovie can put the stuff together in a similar way. And I love the fact that apparently YouTube recently has started unmonetizing channels that spam AI content. And I think that's for very good reason. They don't want their platform to just become host to a bunch of AI crap that starts clogging up algorithms and feeds, because they know in general consumers, especially when these things are lying to them with fake trailers, can become pissed and possibly leave the platform more often. And YouTube functions on a model where they want to keep you on the platform for as long as possible in an unbroken time. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the like button and hit the bell. And I want to say this next part clearly and slowly. Even the likes of Terry Goodkind had more creativity in their little pinky than these guys have in their whole studio working on these AI projects. In my opinion, allegedly. Everything said here is just my opinion and allegedly. But let's go ahead and get into the book news for the week, and we have got some exciting ones, including the actual official blurb coming on out for the next Dresden Files book, 12 months. Reading, Harry Dresden, Chicago's only professional wizard, has always managed to save the day. But in this powerful entry in the #1 New York Times best-selling Dresden Files, can he save himself? 1 year, 365 days, 12 months. Harry Dresden has been through a lot, and so has this city. After Harry and his allies narrowly managed to save Chicago from being razed to the ground, everything is different, and it's not just the current lack of electricity. In the battle, Harry lost people he cared about, and that's the kind of loss that takes a toll. Harry being Harry, he's doing his level best to help the city and his friends recover and rebuild, but it's a heavy load, and he needs time. But time is one thing Harry doesn't have. Ghouls are prowling Chicago and taking out innocent civilians. Harry's brother is dying, and Harry doesn't know how to help him. And last but certainly not least, the Winter Queen of the Fae has allied with the White Court of Vampires, and Harry's been betrothed to the seductive, deadly vampire, Laura Wraith, to seal the deal. It's been a tough year. More than ever, the city needs Harry Dresden the wizard, but after loss and grief, is there enough of Harry left, the man, to rise to the challenge? Which, I'm excited for new Harry Dresden books. People say I hate the series now. No, I've just been critical of the last few books. I still think the series has incredible highs. It's not black and white. And I really think that the premise pitched here could address a lot of the things that I've been wanting to see Harry Dresden go towards. So, I'm cautiously optimistic and absolutely be reading and reviewing it here on the channel. But this takes us to a piece of hierarchy news, which I need to make a quick correction. In the last episode of Fantasy News, I said November 1st of this year. That was wrong, just misread it. November 11th will be when the next book drops. The strength of the few. And we have had a higher quality image cover reveal released, and yeah, I still really like this cover. I like this edition for the last book, but I just hope we also get the other editions as well continued, because I prefer that one a little bit artistically, though they're both really solid. But we also had a cover reveal for The Immeasurable Heaven by Casper Guion, with art from Sam Gretton. An entirely alien cast race across the multiverse in search of a priceless map of the realities in this thrilling cosmic space opera. And for a sci-fi cover, this is a style that I don't love the most, but still really like, especially because it's using these really vibrant pastels to create this like cosmic cloud. That's working for me. But from here, the Broken Binding has continued their reveals for their special editions of Sun Eater, and these are just getting better and better, in my opinion, not only because of the dual sides, but because both sets of art truly encapture the epic scale of this series. And especially for Kingdoms of Death, this cover is rocking it. The sheer expanse of the crowd. Oh my god! And shout out to Pinglu Art for getting this done. But this takes us to a reveal for a man, a myth, a legend, who had 5 books in Reddit's top fantasy series / novels of all time list. And that would be from Adrian Tchaikovsky. Did I do good? I think I said it right this time. And that would be for Shroud, in a very stylized depiction of what looks like a ship crashing through either mountains or clouds, I'm not sure, with art by Yuko Art. On a planet shrouded in darkness, a stranded crew must fight for survival, but the darkness may have plans of its own. To be released June of 2025 by Orbit. And damn, I continue to say the art direction in Orbit is top notch, even for their standard editions. And this one's schnexy. I really like this stylized cover. And Adrian Tchaikovsky, I will probably be always reading. I need to get more reviews actually out. I think there's even a couple books of his I've read and haven't reviewed, which is a shame. Would you guys be interested in a I read like every Adrian Tchaikovsky book video? It might cause like a big pause in reviews, but it could be cool to go through his entire catalog and just get like a massive review out for him as like an author as a whole. Although he's so prolific, it's a hell of a thing to take on. But if you're interested in actually some special editions from the sci-fi space, one of the most popular sci-fi series of all time is getting a new edition, and it looks, I don't use this word lightly, orgasmic. And that would be for Pierce Brown's Red Rising. Daniel, there's no way that's an okay, appropriate word. Stop. Look at it. Tell me I'm not right. Coming from Del Rey, it'll feature an illustrated slipcase with foil, design sprayed edges, new cover and full wrap, foiled out poster, full color illustrated end papers with a new map. Hot damn. The only thing is, I cannot find the artist because I don't think they've done like a full reveal. I'll have it on screen now if I can find it in the edit, searching once again. I'll keep you posted. For those of you who don't know, Red Rising starts in like an almost Hunger Gamesian setting for its first book before ballooning out into an undeniable space epic. One of the most popular of the modern era. It follows a main character, Darrow, as he goes along an adventure tearing through a caste-divided system across the solar system and just reaching the true peaks and lows of what a put through it protagonist can go through. It's an easy recommendation if you're a fan of Sun Eater. I think those two series should just be like immediate reads after each other. But also, if you've been looking for something that could scratch a Joe Abercrombie itch, but specifically in an epic sci-fi space, check out Red Rising. I think the first book is fair, but every single entry afterward from there for me has just either gone up in quality or at least been like a positive trend of investment.
Oh yeah, this just keeps getting better and better.
But in our penultimate cover reveal of the day, we have gotten a release from Titan Books for City of All Seasons, which is actually a collaboration by Oliver K. Langmead and Aaliyah Whitney. It is pitched as a vibrant and emotional science fantasy about cousins trapped in mirrored worlds, the resplendent and verdant summer, and the ice-carved wastes of the winter city. Fans of Every Heart a Doorway and This Is How You Lose the Time War won't want to miss out on this one when it hits shelves in 1 month, April 29th. And with a blurb from Adrian Tchaikovsky that says, deeply different, what more could they say? This is why blurbs don't do much. They're always so short, and it's just, I'm not a fan. I get some people love them. For me, it's not it. But in our final cover reveal for the day, we have one dropping from C.L. Clark called the Sovereign, with a pitch every god will claim a sacrifice. With art by Tommy Arnold Art. The Sovereign brings Prince Luca and Soldier Touraine together one last time in the thrilling conclusion to C.L. Clarke's beloved queer political fantasy trilogy. But in a last-minute update story I'm sure no one is going to find controversial at all, Meryl Streep is reportedly in talks to join the Narnia adaptation being helmed by Greta Gerwig to play Aslan, the allegory for Jesus. I am interested in this interpretation. I don't know if all of the Narnia fans will be.
Every once in a while I hop on and stir the pot to get a good debate going.
And apparently this is going to be adapting the 6th book in the Narnia series, which is the first chronologically, The Magician's Nephew. The novel tells the origin of Narnia and is centered on Diggory Kirky and Polly Plummer, who discover the magical world through Diggory's uncle's magic. And in, I think, universally good news for Frank Herbert Dune fans, although I'm skeptical because this is modern gaming news, it seems that the upcoming Dune MMORPG Dune Awakening is going to be launching with no subscription fee and just a one-time purchase of $50 and optional DLC that costs more, and no early access period. And the additional promise in here is that the game will not continually nag players for microtransactions on top of not requiring a subscription purchase. And if everything I'm reading here is actually on the up and up, they plan to continually fund the game just by adding DLC again and again over time that if you want to, you can buy, and that will be how they keep the servers up and running. Though I have seen a lot of promises like this in the history of gaming take a quick turn. So my opinion is I'll believe it when I see it. Though, thank you for making these promises. But then we had a whole bunch of quickie news when it came to the trailers. So let's go ahead and jump on into them. With the recent Nintendo event, we had more than a few trailers drop, beginning with Metroid Prime Beyond, which is said to have a 2025 release date. This was followed up by the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD remake, which will also be coming out in 2025. And then finally, the one that actually looked the most interesting, cozy, and cute to me, we had Witchbrook, coming to PC, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox. And I just really freaking love the art style for this one. Digging it. But now it is time to shift gears into the LEGO news, because we have had 2 new LEGO sets officially confirmed for Lord of the Rings Tolkien fans. And yes, one of them I would consider an odd choice. The first one has been long speculated and basically just known to be coming, and that is Bilbo's birthday for $400 freaking dollars. Coming with 2017 pieces, it is actually said to be for ages 18 and plus. Interesting, and includes everything from Bilbo giving his famous speech, the fireworks wagon with Gandalf, and of course the dragon, as well as much more, and Bilbo's house. But despite being the much larger set, it is not the one I want to talk about most. The other set they have announced for around $40, I say that because it has like a weird strike through the price, don't know what that's about, is going to be the Smeagol and Deagle set, which is basically LEGO releasing a crime scene as a LEGO set. When are we going to get the Helter Skelter set, LEGO? What the hell? Yeah, I get why you want to make a Helm's Deep set, but this scene's really speaking to my imagination. I can see my son reenacting this. This is a scene that ends in one of these fellas choking out the other on the shore, and they're like, yeah, take it. Now I get why these sets are 18 plus. They're stepping into the true crime fantasy territory. Neat. But then we're going to be closing out this episode of Fantasy News with our first look at the second movie in the Wicked duology, Wicked for Good. You will be changed. And by default, I like this poster because it's not the typical Hollywood poster crap style we see all over the place. But on top of that, I actually really think it's a cool choice to have this divided the way they do, having the two staring each other down with what we know after watching the first movie. Kind of great. And as someone who really enjoyed the musical when I saw it live and liked the first movie, yeah, I'll absolutely be checking this one out at my local theater when it drops. Especially if you're a fan of set design and costuming, be sure to watch the first movie. It is a wonderful display for both of those crafts. Now we are going to be going ahead and getting into my prediction for the remaining 3 episodes of this season of The Wheel of Time. If you are not caught up, get out. And it's kind of got vague book spoilers, though I don't know if I'm wrong, they're not going to bring this character back in. And so it's kind of pushing that Daniel's maybe giving book spoilers to show fans space. If you don't want that, get on out. But if you are a book fan, you know that, final spoiler warning, Tom Maryland makes a return after his fight with the Fade we saw a version of in Season 1. And I believe we're going to get that here in Season 3. And specifically with how Ravine has implanted a bunch of fake memories in everyone around him that he's been around Queen Morghese for like 10 years. Tom Maryland has a long history involved with the politics of Andor. When Elaine tells him or mentions this Gabriel fella, Tom Maryland's gonna go, what the f*** are you talking about? And absolutely take that compulsion and flip it on its head, because if you actually proves compulsion wrong in the books, people can have an awakening to it being done to them. And I think that's absolutely going to be happening to set up Ravine or Gabriel as a main antagonist for Season 4. God, I hope the season gets renewed, because if they're doing the tier thing and that's where they're pushing towards, with Ishmael being taken out early compared to where he was in the books, they need to put in another Forsaken for that, and I think Ravine would be a good choice with how they can kind of merge those plot lines. That is my prediction. Locked in? Let's see how much of that is right. But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. Have a good one, y'all. Peace. And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my latest high tier Patreon, John Rios. Sorry, I can't mispronounce that. It's pretty true.